Hello students, today's objective is continuing what we've learned from slope, and today's specific objective is students will be able to, and you guys should be writing smaller than me, students will be able to, okay, write slope intercept, I'm going to abbreviate slope intercept equation, okay, from a graph. Okay, students will be able to write the slope-intercept equation from a graph. Before we get going any further though, I want to review some good note-taking strategies for these online videos. The first one, the pause and rewind buttons, they are your best friends. You need to use them. If you get through a lesson and you haven't hit either the pause or the rewind button several times, you're not maximizing your learning. Okay, you need to take the time to go back to watch things that you weren't quite sure on, or hit the pause button. That way you can finish writing things down instead of trying to write as I'm explaining, then you're not really listening to explanations. Okay, so make sure you do that. Another thing, write down key points. Okay, as we're going through, write down things that you maybe weren't thinking clearly on the first time. Finally, what you need to do is, if you have a question on something, you need to mark it with a big question mark. Maybe get a highlighter, write a big question mark, and point and write out what don't you understand about it. Okay, right now I want you guys to, in this space right here, write the slope-intercept equation. 5 seconds, write the slope-intercept equation. Okay, you should have had by now y equals mx plus b. Okay, so what two things do we need to write the slope-intercept equation? Well, we already know this. We need the slope, okay, m, so we need the m, which is the slope, and we need the y-intercept, which is b, so y-intercept. Okay. If you don't know what int means, or you're not going to remember it, write out the word intercept, and that word is right here if you need to look at the spelling. Okay. All right, so in order to write our slope-intercept equation, which is what the directions are going to say, we have to find the slope and we have to find the y-intercept. Once we have those two, easy. We just plug them in. We've already done that. Okay. So let's go through then some of the things for writing the slope-intercept equation from a graph. Okay, so if we look at this first one, I have some nice handy-dandy steps here for you. The very first thing that we're going to do is find the y-intercept and write b equals a number. Okay, so when you are writing the slope-intercept equation from a graph, the very first thing you're going to do is write b equals, and then just leave it blank because you're going to look at the graph. Okay. Now, this is important that we review this and understand it. What do we know about the slope, or about the y-intercept? Okay, it's the spot. Okay, where the line crosses our y-axis. Remember, the y-axis is the vertical one going up and down. Okay, so if I have a line that crosses right here, let's say, okay, what's my y-intercept? What's my b? Well, my b would be right here, the point where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, now if we think about the ordered pair for that at the y-intercept, again, we've been tricking you on some of these. Okay, the y-intercept, the ordered pair. To start with the ordered pair, we always start at the origin and we ask ourselves, do I go left or do I go right? And the answer in this case is neither, right? If it's neither, the x is 0. Okay? And then from there, you ask yourself, do I go up or down? And that's where we're going to have either a positive or a negative number. Okay? So if we're talking about the y-intercept, the ordered pair is always going to be 0 and a number. That is so important that you understand that, because on the ACT, they like to ask those tricky types of questions. Okay? So let's actually go down and look at a few of these. We're going to follow step by step down here. Okay, so if I look at step 1, find the y-intercept. Okay, I look at this graph and I ask myself, where does the line cross the y-axis? Okay, well, here's the y-axis. Let's look at it. Where does it cross? It crosses right here. Okay, so my b, step 1, is b equals, what is it? Well, it crosses at positive 2. So I'm going to write positive 2. Simple, right? What about this one? Okay, where does my line cross the y-axis? Again, my y-axis is the vertical one going up and down. Well, it crosses right here. Okay, so that is b equals, so step 1, b equals 0. Okay, if you have a question about that, put a question mark under step 1, what you don't understand about that. Okay, all right, now let's go on to step 2 up here. Okay, step 2 is determine the slope and write m equals. Okay, actually I forgot I had those steps down here. I couldn't see that on my page, so let me scroll down. Okay, so let's see here. I had step 1, b equals positive 2. Step 1 over here, b equals 0. Okay, step 2 is determine the slope. Okay, so I'm going to write m equals. This we've already done. We have already determined the slope from a line, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If you forgot how to do this, make sure you go back and look at this objective, determining the slope from a graph. Okay, m equals rise over run. Okay. And now if I look at this, remember, think about the crosshairs of like a scope. Okay, when you look through it, our line, our blue line, has to perfectly cross, okay, this, both of kind of these lines. Now if we look at this one's really easy, okay, because it crosses every single one perfectly. Okay, so m equals rise over run. Is this a positive or a negative slope? Well, how do you do that? You should be thinking right now, how do I determine whether it's a positive or negative slope? Give you 5 seconds. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, you should have put your pencil right here at the bottom of the graph, and if you trace it up, okay, if you trace the graph up, and do this real quick, if you trace the graph up, is your pencil going to the left or to the right? And it's clearly going to the left, therefore I know the slope is going to be a negative number. Okay, and then you make your right triangle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, you make your right triangle, which should go like this. Okay, perfectly following the path. And you notice you can make a ton of these, right, connecting all the points. And each one of these, my rise is 1 and my run is 1. Okay, 1 and 1. Whenever I have 1 over 1, okay, I'm going to just write that down, 1 over 1. I know that my slope is just equal to a negative 1. Okay, now I know my m, and now I know my b. Okay, once you know your m, once you know your b, simple. Again, this is what we've already done. You just plug in. Y equals, my m is negative 1, so negative 1x, and then it was plus 2, or a positive 2, so I'm going to write, because it's positive, I'm going to write plus 2. Okay, now, you also need to get this down. How else could this be written? They could have written as y equals. Do they have to show this 1 in front of the variable? No, remember, oftentimes they hide the 1. So it would be y equals negative x plus 2. These are saying the exact same thing, and either one of these could show up on the ACT. So we can't be surprised if we just see this negative x plus 2. We know there's a hidden 1 in front of there. Okay. All right, let's go on to this second example and finish that. Okay, so step 2 is we have to find the slope of this line. Okay, so if I zoom in on this, let me rotate it around a little bit. Okay, again, I already have one point, the y-intercept, right? Now if I trace this along and I'm looking, does that point perfectly cross right above it? No, no, and again, I'm kind of looking all along here. The next point that perfectly crosses both, that was a little bit off, both of these grid lines, okay, is right here. Okay, are there any others on here that do? Well, look below the point, the y-intercept here. Okay, all the way down here, this perfectly intersects. Okay, you can draw your stairs now, your right triangle. Sorry, that one's off. Okay, yours should be right on the grid line. It's easier to do on your paper than it is on my computer. Okay, again, the right triangle going all the way up. There we go, there are my two right triangles. Okay, now, any triangle that you draw on a straight line should be the same, and that's a good way to check your work. If it's not the same rise and run, you know you did something wrong. So if I look at my rise, it rises up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to write a 5. and my run is 1. Okay, if I look at the rise on this one, it's, again, 1 box, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 5 and 1. Okay, they're the same. Again, it's a straight line has a constant slope, meaning it stays the same. Constant means it does not change. Okay, so if I go down here, step 2, I'm just going to follow step 2. M equals rise over run. Okay, if I look back at my graph, is it a positive or negative? If you put your pencil at the bottom of the graph, the very lowest point, trace the line up, you're going to see your pencil slowly going to the right. Okay, which I know is a positive. And if you forget right or left, think about a number line. Excuse me. If you look at a number line, to the right are positive numbers, right? To the left are negative. So if your pencil is going up and to the right slightly, it's going towards the positive numbers. If it's going to the left, it's going towards the negative numbers. So if you forget, that's just kind of a way that you can remember. Okay, so my slope was a positive, and we said it was a rise of 5. A run of 1, so that reduces to just a positive 5. So now, if I plug in my slope and my y-intercept, I get y equals, again, my equation is y equals mx plus b, right? So y equals, my m is 5, so I just plug in my m of 5, x, again, you always keep the y, always keep the x, and then it would be, my b was plus 0, okay? Now, do we need to show something of plus 0? And the answer is no. In fact, we will almost never see this answer choice on a test where it shows plus 0. The reason why is because it doesn't change it. So the way that they show that, okay, and I want you guys to cross that out, we don't show plus 0. We're just going to write what's left. Y equals 5x. That's it. Y equals 5x is our final answer to this. Okay, if you have any questions on these two problems, make sure you're very specific. You make a mark where you have a question. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the next page. Again, if you have a question, hit pause now and write your question down. Okay, if you thought that last part was pretty easy, which it should have been because we've already found the slope of a line, so really the only new part of that was just finding the y-intercept from a graph, which all you have to do is look on that y-axis and say, where does my line cross? Okay. Now, there are some trickier ones. Equations of vertical and horizontal lines are a little bit trickier. Okay? Here's the thing. If you ever see a vertical or a horizontal line on a graph, you have to stop and say, okay, these are the tricky ones. What do I remember about how to find the equation of a vertical or horizontal line? Okay? Right now, just to refresh our memory, I want you to write above each one of these graphs, just right up here. Okay? Write either the word vertical or horizontal. Okay, so basically just label each graph. Which one is vertical, which one is horizontal. Okay, take about 7 seconds, get that down. Okay, you should have written down this first one is vertical. Okay, the second one is horizontal. Okay, you gotta remember those, vertical versus horizontal. Okay, when we have these, we're going to ask ourselves two simple questions. The first question is, and we're going to add it in here, the first question is this, and that is, which axis, and again, you should be writing much smaller than me, which axis does line cross? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2 is where does it cross? Okay, question number 2 is where does it cross? Okay, so again, we only ask these questions when we see a vertical or a horizontal line. Okay, so let's take this first question for this first graph. Okay, question number 1 again was, which axis does the line cross? Well, here's my line. Okay, which axis does it cross? It only crosses this x-axis, and it crosses that x-axis right there, right? Okay, it's never going to cross this y-axis. So again, we ask ourselves, which axis does it cross? And the answer to number 1, okay, so the answer to number 1 was the x-axis. And then the second question was, where does it cross? Well, if we look at the x-axis here, okay, which is this axis running left and right, the question is, where does it cross? And we just said right here, where is this? Well, if you start at the origin, you go left 1. So where does it cross? It crosses at -1. Okay. Guess what? You just wrote the equation of a vertical line. Okay. It's x equals -1. Now, this makes sense, and let me prove to you why. Okay. If I take any of these points, any of them, okay, and let me zoom in so my points are a little bit better and right on the line. Okay, if I take any of these points, okay, what is this first ordered pair right here? I want you guys to write what this ordered pair is for this point right here. Go ahead, 3 seconds. Okay, the answer that you should have had is -1, 4. Okay, we go left 1 and up 4. What about this point right here, point B? What's this ordered pair? I'm going to do it up here. 3 seconds, get that ordered pair down. Okay, you should have gotten -1, 0. Okay, this last point down here. Actually, let's make it this point right here. We'll do a little bit different one. So, point C. What's this ordered pair? Okay, should have gotten -1, -3. What do you notice about these 3 ordered pairs? Okay, you should be able to see something very obvious. You should notice that the x, and again, you guys are getting all this down in your notes, the x in these ordered pairs is always what value? -1. Guess what we said? The x is always what? -1. Okay, so just by looking at the ordered pairs, we kind of prove our equation and why it makes sense. Okay, all right, let's go to this next one. I want you guys to do this one. Answer the first question. Okay, question number 1 again. Okay, you got to memorize these questions. Which axis does it cross? And if we look at it, it only crosses the y-axis. Okay, question, so again, y. Question number 2 was, where does it cross? Well, if we look right here, it crosses at this point right here. And what is this point? Well, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So where does it cross? It crosses at 4. So what do you think my equation is? Well, my equation is simply y equals 4. That's it. Okay, that's it. And what do you think you're going to notice, again, to kind of prove and understand this, about why it's y equals 4, what do you think you're going to notice about every single point on this? It is always going to have some number, okay, it could be any x, and then the y is going to be 4. Any point along here is going to be some number, comma, 4. Okay, that's how we know it is y equals 4. Okay, I want to have you guys do these next 2 problems on your own. Okay, where you draw your own vertical and horizontal lines and then write the equations of each. So you use some type of straight edge, draw a vertical or horizontal line, and then write the equation. Okay, we'll check these when we get to class. So go ahead and hit pause now and do that, and then when you're done, unpause it. Okay, so one other thing that I do want to teach you guys, because you guys know when we take tests, time is rushed. On the ACT or SAT, your time is short. You cannot waste time on questions, okay? So what I'm going to teach you now are some smart cuts that will save us a lot of time on these tests and really actually make sure that we get them right. And the reason why we like calling them smart cuts, I kind of think about shortcuts as like when you try to do less work and the end result isn't always as good. The quality is not as good. But smart cuts can actually save us time, and they're smart because they can actually help us get the right answer a lot more often. Okay, so they're not shortcuts, but they're smart cuts. And like any multiple choice test, we can use process of elimination and really help us out. Okay, watch how awesome this is, and think about how much time this could save you on a test. Okay, the first thing that we're going to look at for using smart cuts. So if I see a test question and it's like this, and it asks you, what's the equation of this line? And our answer choices are 4 different slope-intercept equations. Okay, the very first thing that we're going to do is look at the y-intercept and pay special attention to whether it's a positive or negative y-intercept. Okay, if we look at this one, let me zoom in on this. Okay, if I look at this one, what's the y-intercept of this line? Well, where does it cross the y-axis? And the answer to that is right here. What's this value? Well, the value of this is b, so I'm just going to write it right here. b equals -1. Okay? Right away, look down at your answer choices. Look down at your answer choices. Which ones can we get rid of? Take a second, cross out the ones that do not have a b, a y-intercept of -1. Okay? All right, you should have seen this one right here is not b equals a -1. Also, letter choice D does not equal a b of -1. So you can cross that out. Okay? Right away, if we knew nothing else, we're down to a 50-50 guess. And how much work did that take? Pretty much none. Okay? Second smart cut. Look at the sign of the slope and eliminate answer choices that are not the same sign. So the first thing we're going to look at, y-intercept. Second thing we're going to look at, slope. So let's look at the slope. Is this a positive or a negative slope? Okay, is it a positive or a negative slope? Put your pencil at the bottom, trace it out. Okay, put your pencil at the bottom, trace it up. Your pencil is going to the left, which tells me, because it's going in the left direction, it is a negative slope. Right now, there's one answer choice that we can cross out. Okay, cross it out. All right, you should have crossed out, and I want you crossing out directly. This one is a positive slope. It can't be right. Okay, so we know that this one right here, answer choice B, is correct because it has a negative slope and a negative y-intercept, the only one that fits our smart cuts. Think about how much time it saves, okay, by not having to make a bunch of points along here. Okay, a bunch of points along here and doing the triangle. Okay, and this one's even kind of tricky because if you look at like this point right here, that's awfully close, and I might make a mistake of putting a point there and getting the wrong slope. Okay, so again, we don't have to make the right triangle. We didn't even have to count the rise or the run in this one, and we could still get it right in a lot less time. Okay, so I want you guys explaining. Okay, you'll take a second, you're going to hit pause and explain in words why answer choice A was incorrect. And remember, it was because answer choice A didn't have the correct y-intercept. Okay, we knew it was a negative y-intercept, and this here had a positive one. So make sure you explain A, the y-intercept was off. B, you would explain again, the y-intercept was off. It's shown a positive. Okay, answer choice C, your explanation should be that the slope was positive in the answer choice, but I know it's a negative slope. Okay. So hit pause, write out in words why each answer choice was wrong. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a quick explanation of why. Okay, go ahead and hit pause now and do that. Okay, let's use our smart cuts on this next one. Okay, smart cut number 1, look at the y-intercept on this. I see my y-intercept is right here, okay, at +2. Okay, so B is equal to a +2. Get rid of any y-intercept that is not a +2. Okay, so we can cross out this one right here because it's not a +2. So again, right away, takes me basically 3 seconds to say, oh, answer choice A can't be correct. Okay, next step, look at the sign of the slope. Okay, if we look at the sign of the slope, I see it's a, go and say it to yourself, it is a negative slope. Okay, so which ones of these don't have a negative slope? Okay, I'm back. You can give me 4 demerits on Monday for my cell phone going off in class. I apologize. Okay, so I don't remember where I was at, but let's start with I think we were on slope. We realized it's a negative slope. So which ones can we cross out that are positive? Let's see, this one right here. That is a positive slope. We know that it is wrong. Okay, so now let's go back. So we've done smart cut 1, smart cut 2. So let's look at smart cut kind of number 3. Look at the steepness of the slope and eliminate answer choices that are not the same. Okay, so now we're actually going to have to do the work of looking at the rise and the run. Okay, so to do that, I just start, again, luckily on this one, all of these are points. Anytime you see that all of them are points that perfectly intersect, you know it's going to be a 1, a rise of 1, and a run of 1, right? So which answer choice so we know it's going to be a -1 for the slope. Okay, so which answer choice is not a -1, and it's clearly this 3 right here. Okay, so on this one, the smart cut really helped us to eliminate 2 answers, A and D. Were very obvious. That again takes 10 seconds to eliminate A and D, and then we had to do a little bit more work, which not really, right? Just the rise and the run, make the right triangle, okay, to figure out that the slope was -1. Okay, so once you guys hit pause and write down the explanations for why answer choices A, C, and D were incorrect. So hit pause when you're done with that, hit play, and we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, final slide. We can also look at the other way where if it's given us an equation, it's asking which graph does this match with. We can use smart cuts again. Again, first thing, we're going to use the same smart cuts. First thing, look at the, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so make sure I get the sign. Look at the B. Okay, the B is -3. The y-intercept is -3. Okay, if we look at this first graph, it crosses right in between 2 and 4, which I know is simply +3, right? Okay, this would be +3. So right away, because the y-intercept is wrong, I can cross this one out. And again, wrong B. So let's just write that note. It's the wrong B, especially the sign on it, right? Okay, let's look at this next one. Answer choice B. Where does it cross? Well, it crosses at +3. But I know, so on this one, B equals a +3, right? I know it should be a -3. So again, this one has the wrong B. Okay. Now I'm going to go on to my next smart cut, or I'm sorry, to the next one, answer choice C, and I see, oh, it crosses at -3, right in between -2 and -4 is -3. This one crosses right in between -2 and -4, which is -3. Okay. So far, very little work. I'm down to answer choice C or D. Okay. Second thing I'm going to look at is the sign of the slope. Well, this one has a positive slope. So what is the positive slope tell me? Well, let's look down here and see, well, which ones, let's see. This one has a positive slope, right? This one has a positive slope, but this one, the slope is what? It is a negative slope. Boom. Done. Can't be right. Again, you guys, that takes like 10, maybe 15 seconds to say, oh, wrong B, wrong, wrong B, wrong. Okay, these have the same B. All right, go on, look at the sign of the slope. Negative slope, wrong. Boom, answer choice D, simple as that. Use smart cuts on multiple choice tests to help you save time and to help you get the right answer much more frequently. Okay, so that concludes our lesson on this topic. So what you can do now is practice the problems in your notes. That way you come to class ready to go and we can check a few answers. Again, whatever questions you have, make sure you come to class ready to discuss those questions with your teammates. Okay?